Hey friends, so today I am gonna give you guys a raw service call that I'm doing. Um, Customer complained that there's no cooling, so we're gonna find out what's going on. So I have the thermostat right there. The thermostat does have power. Normally, I would check this first to see what's going on. But as you can see, we have a lot of good boys right here. We have some dogs. This is a dog training business facility. So I'm just gonna assume we have power. But of course, if you're out in the field, you're gonna check that you're getting 24 volts between R and C. And I know that we have power because this is not a battery operated um, thermostat, and it's got power. So most of the work we're gonna go up to the roof. So let's go ahead, and if we need to come back down, we'll go ahead and come back down. But I got my backpack. Um, I got my gauges now. Typically, you want to get gauges where, because if you're just gonna check charge, you can have refrigerant going into your hose. So it's nice to get just gauges that are small enough just to read pressure. Now, this is the only thing that's interesting right here. My ladder wasn't big enough, so this is what not to do out in the field. But I do have the business owner that's gonna help me hold the ladder. But sometimes you got to get creative as to what you're gonna do to get the job done. But safety is always number one. So I am having him hold the ladder for me. So let's go to the unit. So I haven't been to the unit at all. So he's gonna hold it for me. 3 points of contact at all time. So this is where it gets a little interesting. I'm gonna throw my gauges up there. So as you can see, I gotta get up there. So he's gonna hold it for me. Okay, I'm good. Thank you. Okay. So now, as you can see, we have this little roof right here. Then we gotta get to the actual roof to then get to the unit. So let's get to that unit. So I'm gonna take my backpack off. Okay. Let's go up. Okay. So have in mind too, whenever you guys are climbing, this is your high power here. You don't want the ladder to be placed, or don't even, not even touching that. Make sure you have a good distance away from high voltage. It is very dangerous. So just be mindful of that, guys. You know, a lot of the times you're going to units and you have no idea what's going on. And I gotta start working out because I am out of breath. So I got my gauges. So I decided to speed up this part here. I'm basically trying to determine which package unit I'm supposed to be working on. One thing you want to avoid is working on the incorrect unit and actually spending time there. In this case, I only had 2 units. Sometimes you have 10, 20. So it is important to identify which unit you're supposed to be working on. So I do choose the package unit that is closest to the street because one, it is calling for cooling, it is on, and I know the thermostat has power. And two, because the thermostat seems like it's underneath that package unit. Now, I do notice that there's some condensation underneath where the compressor is at, and actual water. So I'll be opening up that panel. The electrical, I'm not gonna mess with too much because I know it's on. I'll be checking the capacitors later. But me seeing what I'm gonna see through this panel will help me determine what the issue is. My screws were right here, so I'm gonna take this one out. Okay, see if we can take it out now. Oh, there we go. Ooh, what do you know? Great. Beautiful. Look at that. Frozen. Okay, so that's not good. So if you see, this is a reversing valve. So this is a heat pump. There's no gas. It's a heat pump. So it uses cooling and heating It uses its own refrigerant to heat and cool. But I see that it's on my true suction line. Yeah, I do see that it's on my true suction line. And it does seem like it kind of piggybacks to my evaporator. But there's the middle one as my true suction line. So right away, I'm like, okay, my compressor's frozen up. My suction line is frozen. I'm gonna do what's easy. The most easy thing is check the filter. That's the most easy thing I'm gonna do right now. So I guess for now, let's say we're gonna check if it's gonna rain or not. Because if I do leave this open, I gotta make sure that I close everything up. But I am gonna check the filter first before I even connect my cages. Let me go and check the filter. So I am gonna decide that I'm just gonna turn this off, and from here, so I'm gonna go ahead and pop this open. Okay, and you can put it on the reverse side, and now it's on the off position. So I know it's not gonna rain. It is sunny. I'm gonna go back down now. I'm gonna check the filter, and because I pulled that disconnect, I should have no power going to my thermostat. That's another indication that I am working on the right unit, hopefully. So let me go ahead and get my 11 and 1.
Okay, so this part here, it's funny. I am going down to check if the filter is in the occupied space. Yes, that's a rookie mistake because I know the filter is going to be up in the package unit, but here I am trying to locate it. I do find my return. In fact, I do see a supply vent that is closed, so at least I did go down for a good reason. So I do end up opening that supply vent, but a lot of the times in commercial settings, they use like a T-bar design where the filter, they just don't have it on the occupied space. It's up on the roof. So that's okay though. I mean, it happens to all of us. Here I am trying to check if the filter is there. But you're gonna see me going back to the unit and actually finding out what the issue is. Have in mind this is a dog business, so you'll see what the issue is in a bit.
So let's see if this even had a filter. So if that's my return, it's gonna be sucking air this way, like that. Man, what is? It's gotta have a filter here. It'll throw me off if it doesn't. So here, let's see. You see how they cut the pookie here, the duct sealant? Maybe they have filter here. Maybe they cut it so they can put the filter there. I don't know, but I'm gonna check. So hopefully it's just a dirty filter, guys. What should be a dirty evaporator coil? I don't know. Oh, there we go. Look at that. Okay, give me 1 second. Okay, all right. Look at that evaporator coil. Frozen. If I open this, it's going to be frozen. And well. What do you know? Look, it's so frozen that the pleated part of the filter is stuck to the evap coil because it's frozen. And now I can't even pull it out. And if you look at that, whew, that's all dog hair. You see all that right there? Dirty, clogged. Let's see if I can take it out. I want you guys to see what we deal with. Oh my gosh, this is probably the worst filter. And of course, this is where I should be wearing gloves because that pleated filter can cut you. But oh, wow, this is terrible. I can't even take it out unless it thaws out. I mean, look, inside here, there's a rock on that drain. Oh my, it's literally a rock. Oh my gosh. People, what are you guys doing with these installs? There's a piece of rock in there. Oh boy. Well, that kind of stinks. Well, let me see. I can continue trying to pry it open, but for this, it is going to be a dirty filter because the return air has warmer air. This warmer air boils off all the liquid refrigerant, hence cooling it and also making sure the compressor gets only superheated vapor. But how can you do that if you can't have any air go through? In fact, it's so bad that it's not so much the dirty filter now, but it's the frozen coil. and air literally does not go through. You know what? Let's open this. I already have it open. I want you guys to see how bad a dirty filter is, because sometimes people don't see that not changing out filters is bad, like very, very bad for the unit. So let's see if I can open this one up so you guys can see. There we go. Look at that. You can make a snow cone, some ice cream with that. So look at all that. It's all frozen. See if I can take it off of my mount here. It's all frozen. Everything. Everything is frozen. So that's a good thing, because I'm assuming it is not low on charge. It just had a dirty filter, but it was so clogged that it actually trickled all the way to my suction line, to my compressor. And look at my filter. Can you see through that? Nothing. That is why maintenance is so important. Maintenance is so important. So what I want to do, and I don't recommend that, at least in this case, either you thaw out the ice or I call for heating. If I call for heating, and I kind of just got this thought, I can disconnect the blower motor, and then my indoor coil is going to be the condenser. It's going to have high pressure, high temperature vapor. Instead of moving air through it, what's going to cool it off is the ice itself. I don't know. Will that work? Probably. But let's try it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. And this is a heat pump. So I don't know what brand this is. It looks like it's American Standard. So I'm going to go ahead and get my power. Let me see. My power is this one right here. Power. And I'm going to just jumper R and Y. R and Y only. So here, let me go ahead and put it back here. Hopefully that thaws it out. I've never tried that using the ice that it's formed as a form of taking out the removing the frost. Let me see if I got a jumper here. Yep, always have jumpers, guys. Jumpers help. They help out a lot. Okay. So I haven't, there's no power yet, okay? There's no power. So let's go ahead and take the wire nut out here. I'm just removing the wire nut. This, and then this is going to turn on my, you know what? Because it's an older unit, I think on these, typically you have to send 24 volts as well to my G. But that's right, we're not going to do the G. But let's go ahead and turn on power. Actually, I have to disconnect the reversing valve because it's going to be cooling right now. So disconnect that. You know what? I might not have to jumper it because I have a call for cooling, but I'm disconnecting the reversing valve because I'm not using the reversing valve. So watch it turn on right now on heating because it's already calling for it. So if it's heating, R is going to touch Y, and it's going to engage my contactor, which is going to turn on the compressor without the reversing valve, so it'll be heating. Well, let's find out. Okay. It didn't do it. Not yet. Well, let's do R and Y. Okay, I guess I had to just jumper it. So now it should be warming up. It should be sending high pressure, high temperature vapor to my indoor coil. I can confirm it. This is really cold right here. This is my evaporator. Inside is my condenser. So it is actually cold here. Nice and cool. So I'm sure it is sending the high pressure, high temperature vapor here. But let's see. I mean, I do see it thawing out a bit. I don't know. Is it kind of like a, what am I doing? What I am doing here, is it like a defrost? Like a defrost cycle? Maybe. I mean, it kind of seems like it. I mean, on a defrost cycle, your outdoor coil, which is your evaporator, and you're in heating mode, if it freezes up, it sends high pressure, high temperature vapor to the outdoor coil, or it calls for cooling without turning on the condenser fan, so it heats it up to melt the frost. Here I'm just doing it with the evaporator without the blower motor, but I think the blower motor is still turned on though. That's okay though.
So I should have been a little bit more patient. Um, because it was actually thawing out that evaporator coil. That ice was actually melting, but at least I was able to determine what filter size that is somehow. But it is a 20 by 20 by 1. But as you'll see in the next clip, the ice is melting.
You know, before I go get the filter, I think my little trick here did work. And I say that because look at this right here. It's actually defrosting. You see that? It's defrosting, and I can actually see the coil. I do have the fan running, but I mean, that's okay. So let's see if I can pull that filter out. Because remember, it was stuck? Let's see. Oh, what do you know? Okay. That is not that bad. So, all right, look at that. Beautiful. Look at that. That's pretty bad. That is like dirt, dog, dust, more dog hair, and like moisture and water. That's like the worst combination. And this has a special too. It comes with ice. All frozen. That's terrible. Look at that. This is kind of heavy too. Do a 5-pound dumbbell here. So let's go ahead and clean that out. So I could feel this right now. It's warm. Oh, look at that. The rock decided to come out. What? Look at that. So the water's causing it to go up. So let me see if I can take that rock without let me see if I can get a pocket screwdriver. Man, I keep on getting more and more crazy stuff going on here. Let me see if I can get my pocket screwdriver. And that rock, there's so much water coming out that water's creating enough like pressure upward. There we go. Look at that. Oh, it's not a rock. It's like a, I don't know what it is, but look at that. All that water coming.
So besides this drain here not having the correct pitch, the actual condensate line, the PVC, was installed incorrectly. Most package units have the drain on the return side where there's a negative pressure factor involved. So although it did have somewhat of a P-trap, it didn't have the correct P-trap, and it's supposed to be capped off as well. So I end up installing one, as you'll see at a later clip. But for some reason, because of everything going on, I failed to recognize that it was supposed to be capped off. But I'm glad I caught it in time.
Regardless, he still needs a filter. So, yeah, he still needs a filter. So yeah, I'm gonna go get the filter and I'll be back with it. But it thawed out. Nice. It's thawed out completely. Almost. So that worked. Just call for heating. Make sure that it drains out and it doesn't drain that way because it'll cause damage inside. Make sure it drains. I know we're draining because it's so much gunk that you have all this water overflowing. So I think it is clogged somewhere here with, like, I'm sure it's filter material and stuff. And look at that. Of course, they run the thermostat through the return, through the bottom of the unit. Man, this wire, I've seen this wire get beat up a lot, and it's very resilient. It survived many things.
So as you can see, the evaporator coil is a lot cleaner. I can actually see it. I'm still thawing out some ice. The unit is still in heating mode, so that is helping. So at this point, I do decide to get the filter so you can see how a filter is installed in a package unit.
I go ahead and put the filter. Now with filters, now it is a little windy, so I don't want all that trash flying around. So I'm gonna put something heavy over it so it doesn't fly off. The filter has an arrow, so you see how that arrow says that way. So the air is being sucked in because this is my return. It's going like this, that way, going through my coil and then coming out like that. So, but initially it's going to the right. So arrow to the right. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that there. Make sure it's a nice fit. Okay, put that there. Gotta play with it sometimes. Okay, so there we go. Oh, that's funny. It was getting stuck right here. I had to actually open this, boom, close it. That's good. So now I can close that up.
So at this point, I realized that I'm gonna have to come back the following day. The unit is low on charge, even with clean filter and all the vents being open. So I'm gonna have to bring in my R22 recovery tank. I have some extra R22 refrigerant, as well as the importance of installing a P-trap when the condensate line is on the return side of the unit.
So I actually had to come back. This is the next day, but I did see that one supply vent was actually closed, and that's why I always preach airflow before charge. Always check that you have good airflow. So yeah, that supply vent is open already. I have replaced the filter, and I can show you that in a bit. But you guys saw how bad the filter was. I basically just slid another filter in there that was clean. So right now, this is a system with a piston. It is an R22, so we have to do target superheat. Now, some guys will just try to find the delta T, which is just the difference between the return and supply. But, like for example, right here, let me show you guys what I mean by that. I think I might have these swapped. So right now we are calling for cooling. So if you see, I only have a 3 degree. I'm only cooling 3 degrees, meaning that if I have, let's see what it says. I got 74 degrees, 74 degrees, 75 on the return, 74, and on the supply, I have 70. So I'm only doing a 4 degree delta T. This unit is hardly cooling at all. It really isn't cooling. So I have to get target superheat. And a lot of guys will get the 18 to 21 degree delta T. If it's 18 degrees, if it's cooling, it's fine. But I'm just gonna show you guys how to do it with the target superheat. So one thing is to have that connected to measure the temperature difference, but it's gonna be more on the gauge. So I already have this temperature clamp on my suction line. My suction line, I already have that there. And then, of course, you can go ahead and connect your low side pressure and your high side pressure. And I did confirm this is an R22, and yeah, you can tell it's R22 because it is what's old, and yeah, it's R22. So look at this right here. According to, and I already did the calculation with the psychrometer, but you need to, and it's hard for me to show you because I'm using my phone to record. But if you go online and type in target superheat, right now I would only know what the target superheat is by doing two things: getting your wet bulb temperature off of the return. So I did go down to the occupied space. I got a psychrometer, and you got to make sure that it's a WB wet bulb, WB wet bulb, and it gave me 66. And then the dry bulb, which is just your temperature, regular temperature, you got to make sure, at least with this tool, that it doesn't show anything on top. And so my dry bulb here was 70 degrees. And you see how the sun right now is hitting this way? Try to get the air coming into the condenser on a shaded area, because it could throw off your temperature reading if the sun's hitting it. Right here, there's no more condenser coil, so I'll probably just kind of create a shaded part and kind of just stand right here. But it gave me 70. So my wet bulb was 66. Sorry, 70. Okay, so my wet bulb temperature was 66. My dry bulb was 70. I need a target superheat of 24. What is my current superheat? My current superheat is 50. That chart will tell you if your target superheat is 25 and you're over that number, go ahead and add charge to bring that superheat down, because right now my evaporator is starved. So I'll repeat that again. My superheat is high, right? And we just did the calculation. I had to go get the target, the superheat chart. I checked what my wet bulb was inside of the return, and then my dry bulb with the air entering into the condenser, and my target superheat should be 24. But I'm getting currently a 50 degree, um, 50 degree superheat. So I am right now undercharged, and I already checked airflow. So I already checked airflow. Now I can go ahead and charge the system. So a couple of things that I did do though before I charge, I did add. So I added the filter. I replaced the filter in there with the new filter. I also changed out the capacitor for the blower motor and the condenser fan motor. That was done. And this is interesting. And this actually kind of kicked my butt right now because I had a little brain fart here. Earlier, the reason why, and I should have caught this, but I didn't. But the reason why we need a P-trap with it closed is because, think about it, this side is the return. If you leave this open, and this is how I normally do my P-traps, I have air sucking in that way. Air, because this is my return, so I'm doing a suction. Air is going this way. So I'm pulling air from here, causing the water to stay in the evaporator coil. And you know that because typically when you shut off the system, water slowly drains out because there's no suction. So you're supposed to put a P-trap and put one of these, like, I think they call them a way for you to, like a flush out. It's so that, because have in mind, this right here gets dirty. There's always water here. So in fact, I actually have to prime this, because whenever you do a new install, you're supposed to prime this with water. But have in mind, this is always going to have water. It's just like plumbing. Your P-trap under the sink, under the kitchen, you always have water on that U to prevent the sewer gases from going up. This water here is to prevent a suction being pulled this way, preventing water from draining out. So I actually have to fill that with water. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that right now. Fill that with water so you guys can see. Yep. So that's about okay right there. You see, it's filled with water. So I'll put a little bit more. You can put all of it. In fact, I can put all of it just to make sure it's doing its job. You see, so we are draining outward, and you could see right there. But you see right here, this part here, that right there, is supposed to be full of water. So go ahead and put that. All right. So all right, don't mind the ambulances there. So you see that right there? It's pulling a suction. It was pulling a suction going that way because I didn't have this cover. If you take that out, there's no point of having that drain. You're supposed to have this cover, right? Covered. And now I got water here, right? I got water. And if you have water right here, it's going to help you create this suction going that way. This is so you can clean it out, but then you're supposed to close this. And because you have water there, it prevents the water. You're going to be able to actually now drain water because you're not going to have this suction force going this way because you have water there. So I just primed the P-trap that's full of water there. And then, if you go into commercial, it's interesting. Like, for example, like this package unit, like the most they'll ask is what, 0.5 static pressure. So there's the calculations, but simply put is like if your unit is pulling 0.5 inches of water column, or rather total static pressure is 0.5 inches of water column. If you have a P-trap where it's 1 inch, that 1 inch can overcome the 0.5. But there's commercial systems where they allow 3 inches of water column. So guess what? Your drain has to be 4 inches, 4 inches that it can sustain of water, so to overcome the static pressure. Because if you don't do that, and let's say the unit is pulling 3 inches of water of 3 inches of static pressure, or 3 inches of water column in static pressure, and you have only 2 inches right here, it's going to pull that water back up. It's never going to really drain the water out. So this is to overcome the static pressure that the unit is producing. So I know it's about 0.5 or less. That's if the ductwork is right. We know that in this case, well, I haven't checked it, but I checked all the airflow. I'm assuming it's going to be okay. But I have about an inch, 2 inches right here. So it's going to be okay. So I had to do that. I had to put a little 2x4 so that it can drain all the way down there. But going back to the charge, so now you put this back. So what's my delta T right now? You see it's 2 degrees. So now we got to charge. So let's go ahead and charge the system. So we needed about 24 degrees. 24 degrees of superheat. So R22, I like to charge just because R22 is a single constituent, it's not a blend. So it's okay if I charge vapor or liquid, or I'm going to do vapor just because it's faster. This red one has a dip tube that goes all the way to the bottom, so I'm actually grabbing liquid. I'm going to go ahead and open this up, lefty-loosey. So a couple of things here, a good practice. One is purging it. You got to purge right here. So you'll see, you see, purged. And what I like to do is I also purge the low side, because I did connect it, but there's still air in the hose. So I purged the low side, just very little here. Okay, I got the air out, and look what you're gonna see right now. As I add, that superheat is gonna drop. So let's go ahead and open this up, the service valve here. And now I'm going to charge, but very little by little, because you're charging on the suction side. If you go too fast, you can mess up the compressor. So nice and easy. So you see, kind of like, you see I cracked it? You see how that went up right there? So I'm charging right now, but I only opened it there. Close it just for 5 seconds. So I did it very, very, very gently. So some charge did go inside, and now it's doing its thing. But as I add refrigerant, my superheat is going to drop. My evaporator temperature, or my suction pressure, is going to go up. I want to get away from 32 degrees because water freezes at 32 degrees. So as I charge, my superheat drops, and then my suction pressure goes up. Now have in mind, down there is not too warm, so my suction pressure might actually be a little bit colder than usual, but that's okay. We're looking for 24, right? So let's go ahead and charge a little bit more. A little bit more. Okay. That's good. So look at my superheat drop right now. It's going to be dropping and dropping. We're looking for 24. And this is where you want to be patient, because it's easy for you to overcharge the system. So we did say 24. And as you're adding charge, because you're absorbing more heat in the evaporator, you're starting to reject more heat here. So this gets a little warmer and warmer. But you see now I went from 50 to 40. And then my evaporator temperature went from 23 to 27. If I can get above 32, I'll be a happy man. But we'll see, because down there is not that cold. So a cold return can throw off your pressures too. So let's go ahead and charge it a little bit more. Crack it for a couple seconds. Okay. Alright, so see if you guys can see that. It's kind of hard here. Okay, that's as good as it's gonna get right there. So you see my evaporator temperature, now we're at 30. That's good. and that superheat is dropping. And we're gonna come back to this, but look at my. I haven't checked this. I'm just checking it right now. My, like after the chart, the difference now, and how much I'm cooling. So I did go from where it was at 3 to now 6 degrees, 5 degrees. So hopefully as I charge it, this goes up because I'm doing more cooling. So just go ahead and you see, you gotta, sometimes when you don't put these right, it can throw you off. So I'm gonna just barely, just enough to go inside. You know, I might have pushed them in too much where it was hitting like the actual duct. But I'm just gonna push them in. Oh, you see? Yeah, that's a big difference. So I actually had these kind of wrong. But you see, now I have a 16, 18 degrees, 15 degrees. So I'm cooling now. So they must have just gotten more in. I did kind of barely put them inside. I don't know if the wind, it's kind of windy in here. But you see now I went from a 5 degrees to a 16 degree delta T. That's actually really good because now I'm cooling. So let's go back to, we're looking at 24. So my superheat is still 42. So let's go ahead and charge it a little bit more. Now, this is a little tip here. A little tip. Because I am charging, my wet bulb temperature will start to change. And you have to go down and do another reading to get an accurate target superheat. Just have that in mind too, because you're gonna have to do another reading. But look, my numbers are getting a little better. I'm already at almost at a 32 degree evaporator temperature. I would like to see this go a little bit higher. My superheat, it was at 24. So let's see if we can get it to at least close to that number. But as I charge, my evaporator temperature goes up, or my suction pressure goes up. And this pressure here, it's already converted for R22 right here, 31 degrees. My superheat is dropping, so that's good. That means I don't really have an evaporator that is starving. Let's throw a little bit more. Now I have made mistakes in the past where I'm charging the system and I've overcharged it, and because I've overcharged it now, I have to recover. So that's why I'm being patient, just letting it do its thing, not charging fast. So you see, let's go back to this, but let's go ahead and check over here. Okay, so I'm still at a 17 degree delta T, 18. So that's actually pretty good. That means if I have 78 degrees coming on the return, I got 60 degrees on the supply. In fact, actually this will tell me. Let's see what it says. I got 72 degrees on the, what is it, on the return, and I got 53 degrees on the supply. That's great. So we are cooling now. So it was low on charge a bit. Now this is where you decide to put a leak sealant. And maybe the customer can't afford to replace the unit. Some companies wouldn't even touch this because they don't have R22. It's too expensive. Or they'll put a leak sealant, or they'll try to fix the repair so they can brace the leak. But I've already talked to the customer. He's okay with me charging the unit by a pound just so I can get them going for this summer. I don't think it's a big leak just because it still had a lot of charge in the system. It wasn't at 0. So let's go ahead and finish here. We're almost there. You see, I'm above 30. I'm at 32 degree evaporator temperature. Superheat is 34. Let's get that down a little bit more. Let's see if let's see. You see now it's getting a little bit warmer. I can feel warmer air coming out because we're rejecting more heat. If I can absorb more heat in the evaporator because I don't have a flooded I don't have a starving evaporator. Now I got a more liquid refrigerant. It can reject more heat. So let's see where it's gonna where is it gonna stay at now. So if it stays there, I'll be happy with that. I'm gone, and I'm also getting my delta T, a good temperature difference Honestly, I'll probably leave it there. Let's see. Oh, you see, we went to 19 degrees now, 20. Now we got a delta T of 20 degrees. That is pretty good. So, let's see where we're at now. Here. Maybe a little bit more. Very little. Okay. So I added just a bit. If I'm above a 32 degree evaporator and my superheat is close to 24, I'm calling it. Because I'm already getting a delta T of 20 degrees. And you see I'm not basing my numbers off of my delta difference, the difference between my return and my supply. I'm going off of the target superheat. Because on a hot day with a lot of humidity, my superheat might be higher. Because all that cooling is being used for the latent, for the humidity. So I had to get the dry bulb and wet bulb. So let's see where we're at now. So we're at 20 degrees. Now have in mind, you're supposed to do another test, right? Because this charge is critical. You have to get a critical a piston. When you do target superheat, it's a critical charge. It's got to be almost exact. So let's let it run for a bit more. But I think I'm going to call it here. Yeah, I think I'm going to call it right here. 20 degrees. So that's a good delta T. Difference in temperature from the return and the supply. So if I got 80 degrees, I'll have 60 coming out. If I have 75, I'll have 55 coming out. That's pretty good. And so you see it's going to be at, 21. It's going to climb up maybe to 22, 23. I'm above 32 degree evaporator temperature. I'm close to the 24. I'm 2 degrees away, but nothing in HVAC is exact. So I'm going to leave it there. So I think I'm done here. I think I'm done. So you're able to see a couple of things. Airflow before charge. You always got to check airflow. And look at this right here. Because now it's cooling, it's producing condensation. But you see now we're draining, because this right now, originally, it was a little bit lower, but now it's actually draining water out. But this must remain here. If you take this out, there's no point in doing the whole P-trap. You gotta put the cap right here. So filter was swapped. It was low on charge. We got to the target superheat. We put a P-trap. We changed some capacitors. I think they're gonna be happy. So I really hope, guys, these videos help you out. I'm gonna try to do more. If you guys have any, I'm trying to invest in a good camera with a good mic. I've been using my phone and a cheap microphone I got from Amazon to record. But I've been now wanting to invest, as I would want to do more of these videos for you guys, either service calls or back at the school, so you guys can hopefully continue benefiting from what I'm trying to teach you guys. But this was it. We had a lot of work, so much so that I had to come back the next day. But it's okay. It's part of the job. It's very fulfilling to be able to fix someone's equipment and literally provide cooling and heating in their house. I mean, it's such a true satisfaction, and getting paid for it too. That is pretty awesome. So guys, I hope this video helped you guys out in one shape or another, and I will catch you guys on the next one.